Welcome to Life, Money, and Community, where real conversations meet real life. I'm Tiffany Nyiri, and this podcast is all about the conversations we're already having about money, lifestyle, aging, and the people who matter most. You'll hear from community voices, local experts, and real stories that help you think differently, ask better questions, and feel more confident about the decisions you're making today and down the road. This isn't about pressure or pitches. It's about clarity, connection, and community. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Hi, everyone. Tiffany Nyiri here, and I am with Diana Camba, and she is with Camba Coaching, not your traditional type of coaching. I'm going to let her go into a little bit of detail, but this is for many different things for our retired families going through some loss. I'm not going to get it right. Diana, please tell us the people that you can help and the background behind it, how you got into it.
Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate that. Have you ever had somebody tell you you should look at the bright side of things? Yes, but sometimes we focus on that so much that we don't realize that there's things in our lives that happen that create a loss. And just as an example, when I was 9, my best friend was murdered. Not something that most 9-year-olds experience.
No.
And I carried that grief with me for 56 years before I visited her grave.
Oh.
And a lot of people are like, well, that was so long ago. But Michelle has been in my heart my whole life. And she's a big part of why I do this business. Because last year when I went back to Arizona and I was standing at her grave that said, "Our little rosebud," I realized every loss needs to be seen. And so many times people hide their feelings because society doesn't acknowledge them. So they try to hide them. But our feelings never die. They wait until somebody acknowledges them. And there's so many different types of what I call invisible grief, which is the type of losses that society doesn't acknowledge, such as divorce, empty nesters, miscarriages, any major life transition, retirement, where you have an identity change. Those are all losses that society says, let's move on. Those aren't important because we only have rituals for and allow people to grieve death. We don't always acknowledge things that are a big part of our lives. Growing up, I moved 24 times. My dad was a pastor. We didn't even own the beds that we slept in. So every time we moved, I had to change my identity. I had to make new friends. And when you retire, that changes your life totally. People are celebrating that you're retiring, but you lose your identity. You're no longer that professional, that expert that people always went to. You don't have the packed calendar like you did when you were working. There's just so many losses that come up, and people are like, you're supposed to be happy, so you're not allowed to be sad. But you can't have grief without joy, and joy without grief. The two go hand in hand throughout our life. So that's basically what I do. I help individuals work through the invisible grief that society doesn't acknowledge and realize they have a purpose. Their grief is valid, and I see them. That's what I do.
That's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But I'm going to start with, how would I know that maybe grief from my friend 50 something years ago is something that is holding me back from? Was it having a good life, or was it just in you, manifesting into something else?
Basically, like I said, Michelle's the main reason I do what I do. Because of the fact that at the time, it's the only funeral I wasn't allowed to go to. Whereas when I was 5 years old, I went to my uncle's funeral. And that's what first got me intrigued with grief and death and knowing more about it. So every Saturday, my dad and I'd go to the local mortuary to learn more about it. And then after Michelle passed, 6 years later, my dad actually took a leave of absence from the ministry and we lived above the mortuary.
Oh.
So I dealt with death day in and day out. And with Michelle's loss, since I was never able to really truly grieve her because I wasn't able to go to the funeral, you don't talk about murder in society. It's not something you're allowed to talk about. And especially at such an early age, people are like, oh, you were young. You should be over that by now.
Oh.
And you never truly get over a loss. I mean, Michelle lives on my heart. She always has and always will. And I think what it helped me realize, especially when we lived above the mortuary, is that partly helped me work through some of my grief, because helping other families helps you through your own. And by helping them work through theirs, you work through your own. So in a lot of ways, I was able to see and understand what they were going through because of the experience that I had with Michelle.
Wow. So so if there's going to be multiple types of people or multiple occurrences in their life that would bring them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Something, again, back in their childhood, something in their college years that they
Mm-hmm.
just pushed it down.
Right.
Because, again, there isn't a ritual. I like how you say that there's only a ritual for death, not a different type of heartbreak or a different type of emotional
Mm-hmm.
occurrence in our world that's deep.
Right.
Okay, so they would come to you, and is it a type of, you do coaching? Is it a therapy? Do you give homework?
Basically, what I do is I created the journey of healing, the seasons of healing journey, actually, is the title. And invisible grief is not linear, it's a cycle, just like seasons. So we have winter, which is naming the loss, because until you name what the actual loss is and acknowledge it, you're not going to be able to deal with it. So that's winter. With spring, we create rituals to honor it. And the rituals are important because, especially, we have the rituals for funerals, we have the memorial services, we have people that bring you casseroles, we have the sympathy cards. You don't get any of that with invisible grief.
Mm.
And then for summer, it's renewal. You're renewing yourself. You're finding out who you truly are and bringing yourself back to life. Because a lot of times we don't understand. Somebody asked me, what's the difference between grief and depression? Depression's a form of grief that's never been dealt with. It's grief that you've buried deep inside you. And until you acknowledge and name that, you're not going to be able to work through it.
And in the medical field, they medicate that.
Right. And when you sedate somebody, then that makes it worse because it's still eventually going to come. It's going to bubble up to the surface. And then we have autumn, which is the legacy. That's where you understand that your past can be combined with your future and honored. Because with Michelle, I'm constantly honoring her, which I didn't talk about her as much when I was younger as I do now. Because now I feel like I'm 66, I'll be 67 in a couple months. So it's kind of like, okay, if people have a hard time dealing with that, that's on them. But I need to honor Michelle. I need to honor the dreams that we shared. I need to honor who she was because she was such an amazing person. Her smile just lit up every room. And she passed 2 weeks before her 9th birthday. And our birthdays were a month apart. So we had been talking about what cupcakes we were going to bring to school to celebrate our birthdays. And Michelle's mom still brought cupcakes to the class, even though she had passed, because that was her way of honoring Michelle. So there's different ways to honor loss that people don't think about. And it's important to honor and create those rituals because that's what gives you joy back into your life. You want to be able to have joy. You have to balance it, the joy and the grief, definitely.
And it's in Asian culture, it would be the yin and the yang, of course,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
death and joy or heartache. So that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Let's see over here. You gave me a couple little ideas here. So no one would think, unless they've been through that retirement would bring discomfort, unknown, maybe some depression because you just lost who you were.
Right.
And if you were in a business for 20 plus years and that was who you were.
Right.
And you make me think about that because I've just been who I am in the business world for so long that if someone said, "Hey, what's going on?" I guess, I'm already talking about grandkids, so maybe I'm already ready to retire. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem. But people do. So how do people find you and raise your hand and go, "I'm not feeling how I should in retirement. Help me."
Yeah, that's a good question, Tiffany. I just retired last year.
Oh.
And after 30 years in the funeral industry of helping people through the darkest time in their lives and helping people through so many different types of grief, I never planned for the grief that I'd get with retirement. I never thought about it. So when I retired, suddenly I wake up first thing in the morning thinking, oh, I have to get ready and go to work. No, I don't.
Mm.
Okay. I had such a full calendar with being a funeral director. And a lot of times I was on call 24 hours a day at some of the mortuaries I worked at. And to suddenly not be on call anymore, not be needed.
Needed.
Suddenly,
I think that's a good point right there. Needed.
yeah.
You were needed.
I
People
was needed.
valued your time.
Valued my time. They valued my knowledge. And then suddenly nobody's asking me questions. Nobody's asking me, what type of service should I have? Should I do burial? Should I do cremation? And it's such a strange feeling to suddenly, you're not needed like you were. So you feel invisible. You feel lost. And your spouse might say, what's wrong? You should be happy. You're retired now. You don't have all that stress. But I also don't have the feelings of importance that I had.
Yeah.
Because the feeling you have when you're working, the importance, especially when you've been in a field for 25, 30 years, you become very knowledgeable. People come to you for that knowledge. You're busy with networking groups. You're busy with professional meetings. You're busy with so many different things. And suddenly, here's your fishing pole, go fishing. Or here's your cake. Here's your watch.
Yeah.
And it's such a strange feeling. It really is. But I have found this last year that finding my purpose, what I did well with work for over 30 years, and what I want to do now. Helping people, I helped over 1,000 families through the years. Helping them with their grief from death made me realize the biggest grief that's not acknowledged is the invisible grief, the divorce, the retirement, the empty nesters.
That's what I
Empty,
was going to bring up, empty nesters.
yeah, because empty nesters suddenly you're not needed every day like you were before. And so that hits you too. I had somebody at my workshop a couple weeks ago say, I didn't realize that job loss or retirement and empty nest was a type of loss. But it is, and it's valid because when you suddenly feel you have a shift in identity, you're no longer needed every day, just like in your job. You're no longer needed every day. You're at home. You can watch TV, you can go fish, you can do whatever you want, but not having that structure, that day-to-day structure that you had when you were working, it really makes you at a loss. With the empty nesters, not having that structure of being needed every day as a mom or a dad, suddenly you're like, who am I? What do I do now?
Yeah.
So that's what I try to help people realize, who they are now. They're just as important as they were when they were working, if not more so.
Yeah.
Because now you can be a mentor, you can volunteer, you can make a difference in people's lives in a different way.
Yes.
And so that's what I've decided to do. I've decided to help people through the loss of the invisible grief and acknowledge what society doesn't acknowledge. I see you. I see your grief. I honor it. I'm here to walk beside you in your journey.
That is beautiful, Diana. That's, oof. Because it's needed. No one talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's there.
It
It's
is.
there. Wow.
And
Um,
there,
yeah.
and then when I went to Michelle's grave,
Mm.
that's when it hit me how powerful it was needed, because I needed it just like everybody else does. And I've experienced it. I had a friend who committed suicide in college. You know, I've experienced so many different things that most people haven't. Going to your first funeral when you're 5 years old. My uncle was killed in a car accident.
Wow.
I had 3 tragic losses before I was age 10. We had a helicopter that crashed by our school that was going from Disneyland, the happy place, to LAX, and it crashed in the cow pasture by my school in Paramount. 24 people gone.
Wow.
And then in 78, shortly after graduating high school, I was going from Monterey down to San Diego to my boyfriend's parents' beach house. And I had a connecting flight in LAX. We were 45 minutes late leaving. So I called my boyfriend and said, hey, pick me up at LAX on your way to San Diego. I don't think I'm going to catch my flight. So as we're pulling into the gate, the flight I was supposed to be on was just pulling away. I got chills and a flashback of a family of 4 from my church who just a few months prior had died in a plane crash.
Mm.
That PSA flight that I was supposed to connect with crashed in San Diego.
Ooh.
164 people gone. And I was supposed to be on that flight.
You are connected.
Yeah.
You are connected. Yeah.
So between that, living above the mortuary, dealing with death day in and day out, I've experienced more than my share. And I want to share that with people. I want them to know I truly see them.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And it's just, it's a gift. I feel God's been training me for this my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, whew. So let's talk about what's next. So someone
Mhm.
raises their hand,
Mhm.
they map out their journey for the seasons,
Mhm.
and then graduation type of situation, maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
celebration.
Mhm.
Does it feel you can you I'm guessing that people are like, thank you, I'm healed to the best that I can heal.
Yeah. It's, you know, grief has no time limit, and we never truly get over losses. We just learn how to live with them in a different way. And I have a 30-day intense, what I call VIP, where we work together for 30 days. If you want to kind of see exactly where you are, what is your loss what are you grieving?
Mm.
Because it could be a variety of things. And a lot of times it's not just one thing, it's a variety. So it's really important to, again, name and acknowledge what the loss is. So I have a 30-day program where we name and acknowledge what that loss is, deep dive, and map out the seasons. I have another program where it's a 4-month program going through the seasons where we work together one on one. And I give you workbooks to do in between. You can do them or not do them, but obviously, if you don't do them, you're not going to. It's like we try to avoid pain, and
Yes.
there's a lot of pain with grief, but you have to go through the pain to get to the other side. If we sedate ourselves and don't hear don't know what's going on, because we've sedated ourselves and don't deal with it. I
Mm.
have one client who I actually took care of the loss of her son
Mm.
back in 2022,
Mm.
which was a tough year because I had 5 family members die that year. And she's still having a hard time struggling
Mm.
with the loss of her son. But it's not just that, it's a lot of losses that she had from childhood
Mm.
that is not allowing her to move on.
Wow.
And so I'm helping her through that process. And it's something that's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. So I've got my 1 month, my 4 month. And then for somebody who wants somebody to walk alongside them side by side, be available by email, by text, just constant contact for a year. I have a program for a year also. So those are my 3 programs: 1 month, 4 month, and a year. And each one, we have a celebration and graduation at the end because I don't know, Tiffany, my biggest graduation, the most important one to me, wasn't my high school. It was my preschool. My preschool put on a graduation ceremony at Knott's Berry Farm for us, and we had puppet shows. We had got to ride the horses, the ponies, and we wore a cap and gown, and we got a diploma in art, music, and sandpile, signed by our teacher, Miss Betty.
Wow.
That was the most important graduation for me. And they made such a ceremony out of it. It was even more important than my high school.
Well, it must have been because you remembered it. You had to
I
be
do.
4 years old.
Yep. Yep. And it
Wow.
was, yeah. And, celebration is so important. honoring and celebrating things that happen. And when you have a loss, when you've retired, celebrate what you did at that job.
Mm.
Write a letter to the professional you. Acknowledge what you celebrate. What was the biggest thing you got out of that job? What did you lose by retiring? Did you lose the camaraderie, the community? Because when you retire, you don't have a community to go to like you do when you're at work.
Yeah.
So write the things that you really celebrate about that job. Write the things that you've lost and acknowledge them. And then put together what you're going to do, who you're becoming, combining some of the things you learned from the job and some of the things you missed. Maybe when you were working, I love to paint. I have a couple of seascapes behind me that I painted. And when I was working, I didn't have the time to do that as much as I wanted to. So now I can do more painting. Is there something that you enjoy doing that you were hindered from doing when you were working? So incorporate that.
Yes.
And then once you've written this letter to your professional self as to the celebrations from work, what you lost, and who you're becoming, you can do a couple things with that. Some people will go ahead and burn the letter just as a ceremony for that's gone. And now I have my new life, my new beginning. Because anytime you have a new beginning, there's a loss. And people don't realize that. So just acknowledge that. And to me, the other thing you can do is you can read over it on a regular basis. You can put together a memory box of important things and put that letter in there. Put that letter in there, put any mementos, and just use that as a celebration and open that up once a month. You can even have a certain day. Maybe if your payday was on the 1st and the 15th, on the 1st of the month, open up your memory box, go through it. There's so many different ways. Everyone's different with how they like to celebrate.
Yeah.
But celebrate it and celebrate that you're becoming someone new. And you can now do so many things that you couldn't do when you were working.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Diana. I think this is probably one of the most informative and necessary podcasts that we have done yet. So I appreciate this, and I know our listeners are going to love this one as well because it's not talked about. Like you say, it's not celebrated. It's not a ritual. It's just buried in there. And a lot of terrible things happen to a lot of terrible people, or their basic things really affect them, like retirement. I mean, It doesn't have to be something absolutely horrible like what you went through, but I don't want anybody to discount their invisible. Tell me what you said.
Invisible grief.
I don't want anybody to discount their grief because they don't think it was enough.
Right. There's no loss that's too little.
There we go. Thank you. Because if you're feeling a little, again, people probably say it's depression. This could help. This could help because there's a reason inside your body that maybe is coming out as depression.
Another thing, Tiffany, and when I was the funeral director, what I always tell my families, the first 2 to 4 months, you're going to be in a fog because it's hard to grasp whatever the loss is, whether it's retirement, whether it's empty nest, whether it's divorce, whether it's a death. You're going to be in a fog. You're going to walk into rooms and say, why did I walk in here? Or where are my car keys? You're going to get so much more forgetful. When my parents had been together 60 years, when my mom had passed, a month later, my dad said, what have I done the last month? I
Oh,
don't remember a thing. And that's common.
yeah.
That's part of the grieving process. And it's not something we think about with retirement. We don't think about, I'm going to be grieving. We're celebrating. But think about it. When you retire, you think a lot of times, oh, I'm going to do all these things with the grandkids. I'm going to go travel. I'm going to do all these different things.
Mhm.
And then suddenly, when you retire, the grandkids already have a busy schedule and it's hard to coordinate with them.
Mm.
Or maybe you're not able to do some of those dreams that you wanted to because your body's not able to do the same things they would 20, 30 years ago. So those are all losses that are valid and things we don't think about. So just know you are normal. You're not crazy. The fact that you're in a fog, that's usually a sign there's some sort of loss that you haven't dealt with. So if you have a hard time focusing in a fog, just realize that's okay. Give me a call. Let's set up a 30-minute call. See if I can help you or give you some ideas, because I'm here just to help people go through day-to-day life. And there's so many different type of identity shifts that we have throughout our lives that, it's okay. It's a good thing. I loved moving 24 times.
Mm.
And I love the fact of exploring new places and meeting new people. But now I've been in Temecula 33 years, so half my life. And that's a good thing too. That's a major celebration. When I was younger and couldn't enjoy it, I'm glad I had all those moves. Now I'm glad I'm settled.
Different seasons.
Different seasons, definitely.
Yes.
And so just realize that your losses do go through different seasons. And there's going to be something that triggers you out of the blue. And it's happened with me. My mom's been gone 15 years. And out of the blue, I'll hear a song and think of her. Or I'll suddenly find a penny, because my mom always said pennies from heaven are people that your loved ones thinking about you.
Yes.
So I find pennies everywhere, and that makes me think about my mom, but realize that's okay.
Mhm.
Celebrate that. And just turn it around and just say, what if it is easy? Instead of making things hard, what if this day is easy? What if you woke up today? There's thousands of people that didn't.
Yes.
That's something to celebrate.
And
So,
preparing for this podcast, I did a little investigation, and this one gal, when she orders coffee, she uses her mom's name.
I
So when
love
they yell
that.
it out or when they write it on there, it's her mom's name. So she
I
gets
love
to
that.
celebrate. She gets her little coffee, which makes her happy. And
Hmm.
they're calling out her mom's name. So it makes it's her thing.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
That's a new one. I really like that. And you know, that's great, Tiffany. I'm going to add that to my.
Because we all ordering coffee or tea or whatever it is we like
Yeah,
to drink.
yeah.
So why not? I think her mom's name was Betty. Betty, your coffee's ready. Cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We are going to be putting, you have all the socials. So you've got the Facebook, the Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So we're going to put those all for our listeners and our viewers to click on. And is that the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. Or go to cambacoaching.com
Okay.
and you can connect with me there. You can send me a message or you can schedule a call, whatever works for you.
Okay.
And I just want you to know I'm here to help and to honor you.
Yes. I mean, I can feel that. If I had something that was holding me back or really weighing on me, you'd be the first person I call.
Well, and I also have, if you can put in your comments, a
Yes.
free gift to everyone, The Quiet Path, which is a booklet on walking you through the different stages of grief. and the different seasons.
Thank you. Thank you.
It also has some rituals in there, some journaling prompts. So there's a lot of good information. I had one client that said that that little booklet helped her more than all the therapy she had after her ex-husband had passed away. So
someone took it from a different angle. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is going to help so many people. I'm sure you've already helped so many people. So
yeah.
thank you. Yeah, your second life is a good one.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to come on, Tiffany. It's
Yeah,
really an honor being
my
here.
my pleasure. I'm enjoying this. All right, everybody. So we're wrapping this up. Again, if you need to get a hold of Diana or you just want to read a little bit about it, all her socials are going to be here for you. And thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Life, Money, and Community. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're subscribed and share it with someone in your world. And when the time is right, you can book a call with me. I'm here as a resource. Until next time.